Good morning, everyone. Hello, all. I see so many familiar faces in the chat already. How fun. I see Adam, I see Osime, I see Kushal and Mayan and Frank. Welcome in. Thank you guys so much for being here. Today is Tuesday. For me, it's a sunny day in Sacramento. For you, it may be evening, afternoon, whichever, but salutations for all time zones. And thank you guys for joining me. My name is Voodoo Val. I'm going to be your host for this 30-minute segment, and I'm pretty pumped about it. It's going to be pretty fun. Grid, hello. Adam, hello. Jordan Crawford, good to see you again. Boyana, Jared, Sean, Raphael, John. Hello, everybody. I hope you're all doing well, and I hope that you're all excited and prepared to start our first challenge for today. For those of you guys who don't know exactly what we're doing this morning, we are going to start the Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge as the first part of our day. And I'm going to actually pan over and show you how you could find out more about the challenge and also get started along with me this morning. So if you guys go to behance.net/challenge/Photoshop, it will take you to this page right here where you can sign up, where you can register to participate in this awesome challenge along with me today. Let me scroll down here real quick. Yes, finally a face to the name. Hello, John. So this is the Daily Creative Challenge page for Photoshop. And you can register and join our Discord in order to share the challenges that you put together with us and also communicate and maybe get a bit of mentoring from some of our mentors in the Photoshop Discord. But basically, every day from now until for the next couple weeks, actually, weeks worth of weekdays. Every day there is going to be a challenge unlocked for you. As you can see yesterday when I went over this, none of these were unlocked, but this morning we do actually have one challenge here for you to adjust image quality of an image, which is actually going to be much, much more exciting than it seems. I promise you. I've done my very, very best to make these as wild and crazy as I possibly can, and I'm super pumped to show you what sort of images we're going to be working with today. But definitely come on over here to this page, register, check out what we're going to be working on, and I hope that you guys will join me and work alongside me this morning. You can either watch me do the challenge first and then do the challenge on your own time. You can work with me at the same time, or if you need a couple of days, honestly, to kind of get the hang of some of the things we're going to go over today, that is totally fine. You can post your work in the Discord today or in the next few days. And just as a reminder about our Discord, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click community chat, which you can click as well if you'd like to join our Discord. I'm going to accept invite and I'm going to just say open Discord. Because I have the Discord launcher. But Discord is really cool. It's a great place where you can, like I said, share your challenge entries that you do for the Daily Creative Challenge, where you can make awesome design friends and just talk about art and design and painting and stuff in general. Or you can go in and maybe find yourself a mentor. Or if you're very advanced in Photoshop, maybe you can find somebody to mentor, which is really cool. But this is what your Discord is going to look like when you jump in to the Photoshop Adobe Discord. And we're going to actually, I'm going to do a little magic. I'm going to like skate over to the side here. I hope you guys like my sound effects. We're actually going to be posting our designs in the design feedback channel here today. So when you jump in here, you guys will get a little notification every morning with a link to our live stream here, as well as a little image reminder of what we're going to be working on. And then you guys, as I said, feel free to post what you create for the challenge. And here you can see there's already some folks who have come in and posted some things, which is very exciting. And then if you take a little bit longer over to finish your challenge, that's totally fine. You can post it in the past feedback, or past challenge feedback, which is totally cool. Oh yeah, some awesome voodoo skills. Yes, I skate around in thin air. But yeah, so I'm going to do some more of that magic. Kind of move myself over here. And we're gonna actually take a look at the schedule just before we get going here, and then we're gonna dive into what I have planned for you folks today. So as I said before, this morning is starting out with me, Voodoo Val, for the Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge. And right after me, we're having a wonderful photo retouching segment with Fernando Rodriguez, who is a wonderful fashion photographer. I saw his segment yesterday. It was awesome. Right after Fernando is going to be the Adobe XD Daily Creative Challenge with the wonderful and talented and lovely Melody Sabori, who I've had the fantastic pleasure of meeting, and she's excellent. You guys will love her. And then we have UX design right after her with Sam Anderson. It's going to be a jam-packed day of awesome design and creativity, and I hope you guys will join us for the whole day. And then we'll be back tomorrow doing it all over again with some new guests and all kinds of cool, nifty things going on. All right, so real quick here, I am going to pull up what we are working on. I don't have a starter file for you folks today. Let me pan over here. I don't have a starter file for you folks today. Please feel free to choose your own images. But today we're going to work on cutting out elements of this photograph and then aging it a little bit. We're going to change the quality. We're going to make it look a little vintage, a little retro, a little textury and cool. Will these all be available on demand afterward? Yes, Sarah, they will. They'll be here on Behance in the replays tab, or they will be on YouTube. But yeah, so I'm going to cut out this awesome robot, and I'm going to show you how I use the filters and everything to transform it into something a little grittier, but a little cooler. Feel free to also use images of robots if you folks want. You guys could use portrait photography. You guys could use anything you want. I highly recommend, though, that you choose something that could possibly be added into a very cool poster later in the week, because for today and tomorrow we're going to be not only focusing on our challenge but also focusing on how to plan for a larger project. We are going to revisit the asset we create today and combine it with some other assets to make something super awesome. So without further ado, I'm going to get started here. Let's see, where did my cursor go? Okay, here we go. So first of all, what I'm going to do is I am going to select the robot that I want to take out of this image. And you'll notice that this silver robot here, which is the one that I'm going to work with, is pretty actually close to the color of my background. And so when I go to select this, which I'm going to come over here on the left-hand side, and I'm going to do a long press on this quick selection tool. There's quick selection and there's magic wand. And you folks can use whichever one you want. There's a lot of different ways to select things, but I'm going to go over these two. And when I hit the magic wand selection tool, you'll see that because the background is so close to the color of our subject here, it kind of selects inside of our robot there. And you can actually change the tolerance if you want to on this, and sometimes that'll give you a better selection if you want. But I've noticed that typically when I use the magic wand for such things, I get a lot of artifacts, as you can see. So we can either keep messing with the tolerance, bumping that up and down until you get something a little cleaner that you want. Or you can do what I'm going to do, and that is I'm going to actually edit the levels for the image to bring my subject out from the background a little bit, and then I'm going to use the magic selection tool. So in order to open up your layers panel, you want to go Control or Command if you're on a Mac, L. So I'm going to hold Control and hit L, and it's going to open up my layers here, or my levels here. So I'm going to actually bump this white up, and I'm going to bump this black down, just to kind of separate it, give it a little more difference there from the background, so the edge is a little crisp. And depending on the photo that you're using, this might not work because we are all going to be using different subject matters today. But for this particular image, it does work, and that's why I'm employing this technique. So I'm going to say, okay, that's good enough for me. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to long press again, and I'm going to open the quick selection tool, which is one of my favorite tools. And I'm just going to drag out here. If you want larger selection spaces, you can actually use the brackets. Left bracket for smaller and large bracket, or right bracket for larger. Just like you can do those hotkeys for expanding and contracting the size of your brush when you're using the brush tool. And you can select larger areas. But I like doing this, and you still do get just a tad bit of kind of cutting in here, but it's not as bad as before. It's much, much cleaner. And so what I'm going to do now that I have this selected is I'm actually going to take my stylus. If you don't have a stylus, that's totally fine. This is my preferred method of using the lasso tool, which is our next tool of choice. You can use your trackpad, you can use your mouse, whichever is best for you. And I'm going to hit L on my keyboard, which actually selects my lasso tool, or you can come over to the side here and find the lasso tool, which is your third tool if you have your tool set to default. And I'm actually, since I've got that basically selected, I'm going to hold Shift to add to selection, and I'm going to just kind of select in here and get the rest of this going. You could also do this with the marquee tool, whichever you prefer. And then I'm going to zoom in here, and I'm going to also hold Shift, and I'm going to add a little bit more. Oops, I'm actually going to hold Alt because I need to subtract. I'm going to add a little bit more to this, just to make sure we get all this stuff going in here. How accurate you are with this is totally up to you and the subject matter that you have. Let's see, we're gonna do this because this whole part got pretty selected in here. And then after we're done sort of selecting our piece here, we're gonna get into some pretty fun textural elements, which I can't wait for. All right, so now that I have this selected, I'm gonna come up here and select some of these little bits. I'm gonna go around here, boom. If I had more time for the challenge, I would do this a little cleaner, but that's all right. As I said yesterday, I'm probably gonna come back and do this a few more times just to make several examples of this challenge. So you guys will see some cleaner things being uploaded into my Behance. And that's cool also if you don't get it on the first try. That's what these challenges are for, is testing out new things that you may never have used before and getting the hang of those techniques and tools. So now that I have this selected, what I actually am going to do is I'm going to edit this selection. I'm going to go to Select up here, I'm going to go Modify, and I'm actually going to go Expand. And I'm going to expand that by 3 pixels just to make sure I don't have any artifacts on the edge here. And then I'm going to right click, and I'm going to say Select Inverse. So I just have my little guy here, and then I'm actually, it looks like I have a little artifact up here, so I'm going to kind of remove that. And I'm going to do Control J. And what this leaves me with, if I hide this, is I've just got our little guy. Got our little dude here. So my next step is I'm actually going to orient him in a more pleasing manner here, because he's kind of just like, just like leaning back, very awkward, and doesn't look like he knows what he's doing. So I'm going to quickly do Control T to transform. That's your hotkey for free transform. Command T if you're on a Mac. And I'm going to right click here, and I'm going to say flip horizontal, just to flip him over to the edge there. And then over here, if I hover around the corner of my free transform box, you'll get that little curvy looking arrow, double arrow there, and that just means I can rotate. So I'm going to rotate him upward, and then I'm going to use my arrow keys and kind of bump him down to the edge, and I'm going to say okay. And then I'm going to crop. I'm going to go ahead and crop this. And I'm going to do that by hitting C, which is my crop tool, and I'm just going to drag these edges in. Now there is an option here that you might want to keep in mind while you're doing this. If you want to delete all of the cropped pixels that are outside of your cropped zone, you can keep this checked up here at the top. But if you don't want to work destructively like that and you want to keep everything that's outside of the frame, you'll want to uncheck that. Otherwise, you're going to be removing all of those things out of your file. So I'm going to hit enter here because I'm happy with that. I didn't need anything outside the file, so that's totally fine. And now that we have this, I'm going to, real quick, I'm going to go underneath here. I'm going to do Control-Shift-In to start a new layer, Command-Shift-In if you're on a Mac. And I'm going to name this layer Background. And I'm just going to paint bucket a color in here. Maybe I'll actually select a color from here. I'm going to select my paint bucket over here on the left-hand side. I'm going to select maybe this kind of orangey color. Maybe get a better orange. And I'm just going to put a background in there so I don't have to look at the checkers. All right, so I'm going to select our robot. I'll rename this robot. And now we're going to go into the filters. And the filters are very unique, awesome things to work with because they can do so much. And you guys can kind of mess around in here with these filters at your leisure. Today we're going to use a very particular one. So I'm going to hit filter up at the top here and I'm going to go filter gallery. And it's going to open, actually it opened this on my other monitor. So I'm going to bump this over here where you guys can see it. And I'm going to pull our subject matter over here. And today what I'm going to play with is here in the artistic folder. There's a bunch of different folders. There's brush strokes, distort, stretch, all kinds of really cool styles of filters that you can apply. But today what I want to work with is the cutout. And the reason why I want to work with the cutout is because it kind of makes it look a little comic booky and grungy. It takes that realism, you know, out of the image, but still makes it very understandable and leaves a lot of detail. And I'm going to kind of mess with the levels here just to kind of show you how you can change this up. You can add more levels of cutout. On there, you can see it kind of increases in detail as we bump that up and down. You can edit the edge simplicity. If you want the edges really, really simple, you can see if I zoom in here to this part here, that's where you can really see it, because if it's bumped down, there's a lot of really cool texture happening in there. And then if I bump this all the way to the end, you can see how, man, look at that. It just really decreases. I do want a lot of detail, even though I'm making these less detailed than the original image. And then you can also edit the edge fidelity as you like. I'm going to keep this cranked up. I'm going to keep the edge simplicity down a little bit, and I'm going to bump up the levels just slightly. I like that. Like I said, this kind of keeps the cool details of our robot without actually making it look, I guess, too simple, and also without making it look like a photograph, which I really dig this kind of vibe. Again, if you'd like to experiment with some other things, there's also like paint daubs is kind of a cool one. If you want to like increase the brush size on that, it makes stuff really, really smooth. You can increase the sharpness of that, which is also pretty cool. This is actually kind of a great look as well for what we're kind of going for, like that vintage kind of 80s feel, kind of like cult classic vibe. You could also use the palette knife, which is kind of a cool one. And like, again, you can come in and change the stroke size and all of that in order to enhance or decrease the detail. But again, I'm just going to stick with my cutouts, and I'm going to hit OK. So now that we have this, it's pretty cool. It's more like I said, kind of like a comic booky vintage illustration and less like a photograph, but we want to add just a little bit more gritty texture to it, because if we don't, it kind of can look, especially to the trained Photoshop eye, like I just ran a filter over it. And we want to add a little more pizzazz to it than that. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to add a noise clipping mask to this. And this is how I do that. I'm going to come over to my libraries here, and I've got all my assets kind of sorted into the lessons that I have. And I've got this noise texture. You guys can find noise textures for free online if you'd like to find your own. I got mine from the True Grit Texture Co. But you can also add noise within Photoshop, which I'm also going to show you. But first of all, if you have a texture that you really like, that you really favor, this is how you can apply that. So I'm just going to grab this and I'm just going to drag it over. And it's going to drag in as a smart object, and I am going to place it and kind of stretch that to fill the entirety of my robot. And I'm going to hit enter. And it's given me a little thinking. There we go. And then I'm going to come over here. I'm going to hover over my texture layer, and I'm going to right click, and I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to say create clipping mask. And what the clipping mask does is it puts a mask of the layer you're creating a clipping mask from over completely whatever is directly underneath it. So this is very True Grit Texture Co. Melanie. That's where I got it. It's a wonderful website, wonderful little collective of awesome textures and cool little tutorials and mock-ups and things that I like to use sometimes. I actually found out about it from a guest who was here on Adobe Live in the past. And I've been using that and Adobe Stock ever since, which is pretty cool. So yeah, we've created a clipping mask of the noise over the top. And it's very important that you remember that it's only going to be on what is directly underneath it. If I were to drag, let me see if I can give you a better view of my layers here. If I were to drag the background underneath here, it would make that into a clipping mask as well, which is not what we want. We want it like this. And we also don't want to drag this up above anything because it'll just void the clipping mask and be its own layer all over again. So we're going to drag this down. I'm actually going to delete this other robot that I had made previously while I was testing this. And I'm going to make this a clipping mask again, and then we are going to use the power of blending modes to make this a little gritty. So I'm going to go up here. If you're on a Mac, you will be able to do this, just kind of cycle through and hover over these and it'll preview. Or if you're on a PC, you can actually click that and make sure that that blending mode menu there is highlighted blue. And so long as it's highlighted blue, you can actually flip through them with your up and down arrow keys, which is very fancy. So I'm gonna come through here. I'm actually gonna make sure that you guys can see these just so you know which ones I'm choosing. I really like color dodge. I think color dodge is cool. I think it adds that cool texture-y, like you could see this robot being on the front cover of like a vintage toy box, you know, that you'd see at like an old toy store or something. Linear dodge is cool if you don't mind kind of sucking out some of the color, but I'll let you guys choose what is best for your project, for your image that you've chosen. This divide is pretty great. It adds a lot of that good color. I think I like divide and color dodge the best. I might actually go with color dodge, to be perfectly honest. Let's see. They're both kind of growing on me. They're kind of doing similar things here. I think maybe I'll select color dodge. And then depending on your own preferences, you can kind of lower the opacity down. I think I like putting it at like maybe a 50. And there we go. We've got like a super cool little vintage asset. I am a PC user because I'm also a gamer and I needed to have a PC in order to play all the PC games I like to play. So I'm a PC designer, but I also have designed on Mac, which is why I like to remind of what the commands are on Mac as well for those of you who don't use PC. Hello, Anna, Alexandra, Wilmington, good to see you, Sam, Ariana, Samuel, Aurora. I'm so glad you guys are here. I hope you guys are having fun with this. Yeah, so there is our cool little True Grit robot. And what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to quickly save. I'm going to do a file save as real quick. And I'm going to pull this up here, and I'm going to save this as a JPEG. Boom. Replace, yes. And then I am going to pan over to Behance very quickly here. And I'm going to upload it to my Behance project. You guys will remember, I'm gonna bump that up. You guys will remember yesterday I actually created a Photoshop DCC project that's kind of blank in preparation for this. Remember, I got all my little challenges here lined up. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hover over the gear icon, I'm gonna hit edit, and then I'm gonna come in here and I'm going to edit this challenge. I'm gonna say, like creating a vintage image. Boom. I hope you guys like my mechanical keyboard there. And then right underneath here, I'm going to hit upload, and I'm going to jump over to where my image is. Boom. And I'm going to say open. And there it is. I'm going to kind of bump it into the edges there. Boom. Let it upload. There he is. He's so cool. And I'm going to say save. And as I said before, oops, I am going to maybe create a couple more of these with some different cool effects and things as we go. And remember, folks, we're going to return to this asset in the coming days. This is not the last time we see this. We're going to do a few more of these. We're going to also create some pretty cool stuff tomorrow, and then we're going to combine some awesome elements. So thank you guys very much for joining me on this cool little journey we had today. You guys rock. I can't wait to see what you guys created. Please upload to Discord as well as Behance, and I will see you folks again tomorrow morning for another challenge. All right. Adios, everyone.